YouTubers, welcome to a very action-packed, very special edition of Trends in the Housing Market. Man, are you guys in for a great show. Today we are totally action-packed. Today is the 26th of October 2017, and the year is just flying. It's I can't believe that we're in the fourth quarter. It's year end. Taxes are going to be due in a couple of months. I just can't believe how the year just blew by, and no housing crash. But there's lots happening in the news, in the housing world, in the housing market. For people that are following me on this channel, I want to thank everybody. We're going to have some open lines in a bit. Don't forget to call in if you want to voice your opinion. We need to keep it on topic, if that's okay. We need to talk about housing market. We need to talk about people to call in to voice their opinions. It's very important. I think it's very important that people get whatever it is on their chest off. I think it's absolutely crucial that people basically say what they gotta say. And yes, the chat line, the chat side is open, and we got open lines in a bit. Now, I want to thank everybody for tuning into my channel for all these years of me talking about the housing crisis. No one else was voicing their opinions. I went back to one of my first videos in 2012. Yes, where I'm just ranting about the housing crisis, ranting about everything that's going on. And yes, I couldn't believe how it started, and it just snowballed into like a weekly show now that people are tuning in. Very happy for everyone that's tuning into the show. Also, I want to thank, I was checking the YouTube analytics, and I have a lot of people in New Zealand watching my channel. Yes, a lot of Kiwis watching this channel. I want to thank them. A lot of shares in New Zealand for my videos. I want to thank everyone for that. If you want to get people's attention to watch my show, what you tell them is there's this weird Portuguese guy who speaks English and talks about housing, about New Zealand housing, or housing in the world, like in English-speaking countries, more than we even do in our own country. You better check this guy out. And then I'm pretty sure more people would tune in to watch what I have to say. Because a lot of people don't want to voice their opinions nowadays. They're scared, you know what I'm saying? What do you think we won these two major wars for if we can't talk? What's the point? And so open lines is 1250-800-1489 if you want to call into the show. Don't be afraid to call into the show, and please be PG, please, on the show. I want to thank Mario DeCettis. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. Mario is back. Super Mario DeCettis, the Lost Canuck, is back. I'm very happy that he's here, and very happy that he's you know, boots on the ground on the East Coast. Hopefully he could call into the show. I know he's a really busy guy, and it's very late in the East Coast right now in New York. I think it's New York time is, I think it's like midnight there, so, you know. But it's morning in New Zealand, and people are waking up to this show. I want to thank people from tuning in. And really good story he put up. I'm going to reiterate the story he put up. Same article I'm going to read on the show today that he put up on his show. Really good one. So, buckle in, fasten your seatbelt, get some tea, relax, dim the lights, light a candle, enjoy, because this is going to be a good one. You don't have to watch me. You could hear me. You know what I'm saying? And let's move on. I kicked off the Living the Dream series. It's a beautiful series. It's a new series that I'm editing all the footage I have from my Living the Dream. And I put together this production. This is season 1, episode 1 is already out. Season 1, episode 2 will be out next Monday. And I got all the royalties, everything's allowed on this, and it's a really good article, a really good story, basically, of what happened and where I am today and why I am here today and why the housing market has put me here today. And it's called, like I said, Living the Dream series, season 1, episode 1. Please watch it. And let's move on to, yeah, the big story. The big story! ready? Who's ready for the big story? I got open lines 1-250-800-1489. If you want to call in, just say who you are, where you're calling from. If you want to use a fake name, that's fine. Just be BG. Don't tell me off. I don't need to be told off. So Brian White's commenting, and Terenzio is commenting too. He's saying something big's about to happen. I could feel it. And Brian White saying, unless immigration is changed, there is no crash coming. Yes, we do live in a free market society. Now, let me explain something to you before I read this article so that you guys understand. Just so I make it really clear. When we started a free market society or free market world and we wanted to go free market, originally it was for investors, foreign from all over the world, to invest in our stock markets, to invest in companies and build companies to employ more Canadians, to invest in different sectors of technology and different things to help better Canada type of thing. That's what foreign investing should be, right? And that's what free market should be. But what happened is the free markets got out of control, and then they've been manipulating our free market. And what has happened? Very simple. People have been buying homes, and homes became a commodity, not an asset. Homes are supposed to be assets. But no, they became commodities, and they become trading, just like features in the market. Just like the features market, just like any other stock market. It's what happened with our housing market. Now, the poor is bought out. People can't afford to buy. It's a nightmare. Now, this article came out, and that's why I want to kind of address this with you guys to give you guys a little understanding how the free market originally worked and what the point of the free market was. Now it says, New Zealand ban on foreign home ownership gains attention in BC. So, Brian White, I'm going to read this again just for you, buddy. New Zealand ban on foreign home ownership gains attention in BC. So, Brian's commenting again. If you look at mainland China housing, Vancouver housing is still very cheap. I don't know how many people know this. Yes, in comparison to Hong Kong, Macau. Macau's Portuguese China, by the way. I've been there. Hong Kong, Macau, Shanghai, major cities like that in China, Beijing, yes, housing is a lot more expensive than it is in Canada. It definitely is. Because we're a free market society, we've allowed it to get out of control here. So, oh, not Hong Kong, I meant mainland China. Yeah, I guess, but there's a lot of ghost cities. We'll get into that another time. But this is important. New Zealand ban on foreign home ownership gains attention in BC. So a lot of people are complaining that, oh, you're blaming the Chinese are always being blamed. No, this is all foreign. So if the Chinese aren't the problem, like they keep saying, no, the Chinese investors aren't the problem, we have research to prove it, that's fine. But if you're banning all foreign home ownership, then it shouldn't be a problem because you're not really picking on a specific sect of people, right? So let me read this article for you because this basically covers everybody. Me. I want to go buy a house in New Zealand. They're going to tell me to get lost, which is right thing to do because what if I have hundreds and millions of dollars and I want to go buy up half the country? Then what happens, right? A new housing policy in New Zealand is grabbing a lot of attention in Metro Vancouver as John Hua reports the country is about to seriously restrict foreigners from buying property. New Zealand's newly elected government is launching an attack against foreign home ownership. So again, when they say foreigners, they mean everybody because New Zealand gets people coming from India, I think from the UK, and that's why below I got the old New Zealand flag flying there below me, and so let's continue here. In an effort to tackle soaring property prices, the country of 4.7 million people will pass a law that seriously restrict foreigners from buying property. Done. And what did I tell you guys on a political platform? This woman just got elected in New Zealand, and her platform was housing. That's it. You want to be president of NASA? You talk about housing. You want to be president of friggin' anything in this planet? Your platform is housing. Well, you can't talk about housing. You're part of school district. I don't care. Housing, housing, housing. That's all you talk about to get elected. The plan is outlined by the Prime Minister-elect Jacinda Ardern. Will ban non-residents from purchasing existing homes in the hopes of curtailing skyrocketing real estate prices. BC Greens leader Andrew Weaver said he was pleased to see that New Zealand's minority government tackle the issue and hope politicians in BC will follow suit. So, and it's very important that you guys understand this, that they're not just picking, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's not these people doing it. So if it's not those people doing it, so there's no harm done, right? It's not about stopping people from owning homes who live here and pay taxes. New Zealand proper. He said it's about ensuring British Columbians can live in homes in British Columbia. Canadian proper. People that pay taxes, send their kids to school, people from all over the world. So when people tell me I'm a racist for saying Canadian proper, I mean I'm Canadian proper, but I'm Portuguese. You know what I'm saying? There's my wife's Canadian proper. Why? Because we pay taxes. We pay taxes. We send our kids through school. We do everything by the system. We do everything by the book. We contribute to society. Okay. When we turn our real estate sector into a speculation as opposing to living, we have a problem. Merry Christmas. This article is right. This is perfect right here. Weaver said that Green plans on urging the NDP government to take a hard, thoughtful look at the issue of foreign home ownership. So there's a little video here you can see. Look, the house is $17 million. Look at that. I think it's got running water in it. Any policy that is introduced has effects, Weather said. It's important to ensure that they're introduced slowly and that you're monitoring the effects through the collection of ongoing data. Tom Davidoff of the UBC Sauder School of Business said New Zealand's plan may not be effective. I tend to believe restriction bans are hard to enforce at times. We had it here in British Columbia, even with the foreign buyer's tax. But it's very hard to find a loophole when you're not allowed to buy anything, period. So it'd be interesting how they find a loophole. You know what I'm saying? I don't think investors would want to invest when it's really hard to... I don't think it'll be worth it. You know what I'm saying? So they can't have nothing in their name. The idea of giving locals a leg up in the real estate market is being explored in Vancouver on a small scale. Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robson launched an initiative where projects will be marketed exclusively to local residents for the first 30 days. But here's the problem with that. No one could afford anything. It could be for the first 30 years. No one could afford to buy anything there. Unless someone wins the lottery and says, hey, I'm going to buy my first place. Hey, I just won $12 million. I could buy a place with running water. Then Metro Vancouverites for the next 60 days. It may not have impact on affordability directly, but it will give access to locals, I hope, Robertson said. That pushback stops the provincial government, which said foreign ownership of homes is not being considered as part of the the budget of the 2018 plan. Yeah, so Mia just hit the nail on the head. Live and spend money in Canada permanently. Yeah, that's a Canadian proper. That's someone that's laying roots, paying taxes, sending their kids through soccer school, goes to church or mosque on Sundays or whatever, and is just part of the culture and the community. You know what I'm saying? Yes, so, and Mia says it again. Most people know foreign buyers are coming from all over the world: China, Russia, Arab countries, India, Pakistan, etc. Buyers can come from anywhere, but their goal should be to buy and live. Exactly. Merry Christmas. This is what I wanted to hear. It's Christmas in October here at Trends in the Housing Market. Screw Halloween. We're in Christmas now. This is good. The province is going to have an act, Davidoff said. We have a new government that was elected largely on a platform to do something about this housing cost. Like I said, you want to be any sector of political. You want to be general 5-star of the armed forces, all you have to do is talk about housing. That's it. You talk about housing, you get into anything. So let's keep going. So that's the article, and I got a few comments here I want to read for you guys. That video I put up a couple of hours ago. Yeah, a couple of hours ago, and it already has 29 comments on it. And I want to read some of these comments here. Feel free to call in if you're not nervous. 250-800-1489. The lines are open. If you're not nervous, you want to call in and just talk about what's going on, you could remain anonymous. And you don't have to panic, you know. Let's continue here. So, woo, lots of. So let's find some good comments. This is from Margaret. As a New Zealander, I am ashamed of seeing people in cars and vans at my local park and at the side of the streets. The children are upset me the most. I pray that this new government will be able to stay in power long enough to change this. None of my children own a house. They have all got master's degrees and earned reasonable money, but our previous government has told them they are failures. They do not deserve to live well in the country they were born in. Again, I pray that this government will stay around long enough to change this. Yeah, I hope so too. I really hope God hears you and that there's some sort of a fix here, because there's no way educated people that work hard all their lives. Okay, here's a response from Yuzu. Glad to hear your government has decided to work for its people. They are actually public servants. We recently elected a new government in BC, Canada. Quite the election, to say the least. Most people in Vancouver, minus the millionaires and developers, are hoping drastic policy changes will begin to occur. I am certainly one of them. I also have a master's degree, but make essentially an annual wage that equates to minimum wage. Yeah, once you start breaking down your factors, it's not how much you make, people, it's how much you spend. Take that and run with it. It's how much you spend, it's not how much you make. Then somebody else, Louise, says, it upsets me a lot too, Margaret. So happy that Jacinda wants to help. Then Electronic Wasteland comments in there. Conservative, NDP, Liberals, I don't care which one. If the campaign on scaling back immigration and banning foreign ownership, I will vote for them regardless of political party. Heck, I'll go door to door trying to get votes for the politician that says that. I personally think that there will be a massive amount of votes for a candidate like that. Canadians are completely fed up with the status quo on this issue. Yes, it's very true. And then Evil Ann says, New Zealand bans the buying of existing property. That implies that they can still buy new property, which is the same as Australia. I'll be watching to see if New Zealand goes down, as there would be reduced buying of their currency. Sorry. There's two replies. Someone commented on that, says, yes, that might make a huge difference. At least they want to help homeless Kiwis. Yes, it's a start. Prices will start to fall at some point. When that goes for a while, foreign speculators will no longer be interested in buying and housing as well. And then Jason commented, this is what happens when the next generation gets into power. The New Zealand has a new elected 37-year-old female prime minister. It will be very interesting to see what happens over time. I wonder if someone in Australia will eventually use the housing policies promises as a way of getting into power. If so, the wealthy leaders who have none on the economic pressures that the regular citizens faced might just be up against the wall. So lots of comments here, guys. So somebody commented here, Mike Martins, what are you saying about people from other countries are not allowed to buy in Mexico? I usually use Mexico as an example because I've tried to buy in Mexico twice. I lived there for 2 years. I speak Mexican. I try and buy 2 different occasions, 2 different states, and both times they told me that I couldn't buy because I wasn't a Mexican citizen. They told me to get married to a Mexican, but the house or property would go in her name, and if something happened, I won't. That's what, I don't know if the laws have changed. And I replied to him. So a lot of people, very good comments, long. But I told him, I believe you. I tried to buy in 2 different places. So I'm trying to explain to him, too, that, you know, it's straight up. I tried. And, yeah. So that's what I wanted to bring up, some of these comments. So this is really good. And, yes. I wonder if that covers land, and Mia just commented there on the comment section if that would cover land and commercial properties. I wonder. Because you're going to see a lot of empty strip malls and a lot of empty malls if that doesn't count. If that counts towards it or not. So comment below, let me know in the comment section if you guys know what the hell's going on with that. Okay. I don't know if you guys heard the news of what's happening in Canada. Bank of Canada keeps the benchmark of interest rate to steady 1%. So I have this idea. I'm not a smart guy. I have no education and I can't even read. But let me tell you my idea. Let's say we create jobs, not out of thin air. Get some investors together, proper investors, to invest within Canada, hire Canadians, Canadian technology, buy from Canadians. Let's say make Canada's first electric car. Doesn't have to be the highest end thing, but something affordable for everyone to buy. And make Canada the first country on the planet to go electric cars, electric buses, electric transport. Heck, everything's electric, right? Let's just say, not only would that create jobs, that would increase our GDP. We are selling to our own people. We are exporting. We've creating thousands of jobs because you need a factory to make the tires. You're going to need a factory to make brake assemblies. You're going to need a factory to assemble everything together. You're going to need a factory to make frames for the cars. Then you're going to need a factory to paint the cars. Man, you create tens of thousands of jobs. We lost so many jobs back in the early 80s during the NAFTA agreement, when all our jobs went down, when all our plants, our Chrysler, Ford, GM plant went down to Mexico. I think that's a great idea. And then you could tax the wages of the people in the private sector that are working at these jobs. Then this way, you don't have to stimulate the economy with housing. How does that sound? I wish I was more educated, because maybe I would put this into motion and actually make something about it. You know what I'm saying? But they want to keep rates at 1%. Very hard to stimulate the economy at 1% interest rates. In a normal housing economy, I've said this like a broken record, it's 4.5 to 5%. The Bank of Canada has decided to keep its benchmark interest rates steady 1%. The bank's rate, officially known as Target for overnight rate, has a large impact on the rates of the retail banks and consumer saving accounts and loans. This moves amid the signs of Canada's economy was heating up, but since the economic indicators have been more subdued, which helps to explain the bank's cautious tone. Do you know what cautious tone means? Cautious tone is English, right? But it really means we're screwed if we go any further with this. And Harry Tuttle commented here. The price of houses doubled over the past 2 years. 2 hours north of Toronto. Imagine double. And no media coverage on this. Of course there's no media coverage on this. There can't be media coverage on this. You know what I'm saying? Byron saying the interest rate we have is impressive compared to other countries, but it is a joke. And then Jacob's commenting also, mortgage business has dried up completely. People are on the sidelines. There's a house by me. It's selling. It's not selling at all. You should call and troll a few agents. Yeah, I should do that. But the problem is I've already done that before, and they want to. I want to sue you. I sue you. It's like they want to sue me. It's like, really? That's how you get back to someone, or that's how you. How do you say man up against someone that's asking you questions? Yeah. Mia saying they say that America First plan is insane, but looking after yourself is just plain common sense. No wonder Trump got so many votes. And it's very important that you guys understand this. Interest rates went up 6-7 times since Trump been on watch. And you know why they did it with him on watch? Because they could just blame him if something happens. So easy to blame and point the finger at him. You know, God forbid it was against anybody else, but against him, oh man, raise the rates 20-30%. But you know what? Hey, the stock markets are up. Job creation's huge. I'm talking to a couple of friends out in Staten Island, New Jersey. Talking to a couple of family that I have down in California, people I know in Texas, I know people in Arizona and Nevada, and they're telling me that job growth is like, it's happening. They're getting calls, they're getting hired on the spot. I have a friend named Jesse that got hired at a spot, working in a steel mill, one of the new steel mills that reopened. I think this is important, but we're going to fall behind the U.S. We're going to fall behind. And we can't even raise our interest rates? Anyways, 1%. Look at that. The current stance of monetary policy is inappropriate. Guys, this is stimulus. They lowered the rates to stimulate the economy so more people will spend money into the economy. This is what it was supposed to be, a stimulus. Hey, everything's cheaper to buy now because we're not paying so much to borrow the money. Let's just borrow this money. It's stimulus. You got to pay it back. The bank said in announcing its decision, while less monetary policy stimulus, there you go, they used the word, stimulus, will likely be required over time. Less monetary policy stimulus will likely be required over time? Of course. This should have been gone a long time ago. Look back at this graph. Look at this. You see that right there? You see where the interest rates were at 4.5 and then 2008, boom, they dropped? Right there when the U.S. crashed? Instead of Canada crashing with the U.S., which it should have, and Australia and New Zealand, it just kept going. They dropped the rates to like 0% and it kept going. If you look at the graph there where I'm showing you guys there, you'll see what I'm talking about. Along with this decision, the bank has also released its monetary policy, which comes out 4 times a year and provides a deeper dive into the bank's line of thinking. According to the latest NPR, the bank expects Canada's economy to expand 3.1%. That's not even ahead of inflation. 3.1? 3.1% in 2017 and 2.1% in 2018? Oh my God, it's Christmas in October, guys. This is phenomenal. And 1.5% in 2019. The figure of the next year's slightly better bank was forecasting months ago, but the 2019 figures is a little worse. The economy's only expanded 3.1% with 35 million people and endless immigration coming in, and we can't. I don't know, guys. I don't know anything. Hey, what do I know? I'm just some guy, you know? Just some Portuguese guy that speaks English that talks about houses. All right, I'm gonna close this before I have a heart attack. Okay, this is from 2 hours ago. Canadian house prices drop the most in 7 years. Canadian real estate prices may be softening. Numbers from the Tarrant show that home prices generally declined across the country in September. This decline is led by the drop in prices around the Greater Toronto Area, extending through the Greater Golden Horseshoe Bay. Although not all markets saw a decline, Vancouver is once again leading the 11 city composite index in a monthly price gains. Look at that. Look at that graph, people. Look at that composite. Toronto leads declines. The monthly drop was led by Toronto, Canada's largest real estate market. From August to September, the city experienced a 2.7% drop. For other cities, the 11 city composite also saw declines. Quebec City at 2.3%, Hamilton 1.9%, Halifax 0.4%, and Winnipeg 0.3%. Victoria saw prices stay flat. Let's move on. And this other article here is just a waste of time. Talks about expensive apartments. 2 Canadian cities rank for the world's most expensive apartments. I want to just skip down to this part here. I want to show you guys. 3 most expensive cities for an apartment. The 3 most expensive places on the list were all traditional hubs of wealth. Monaco topped the list, where an apartment now costs $48,000 per square meter. In second was New York City, where the price was now pushing $37,000 per square meter. London came in third, where prices are now fetching $35,000 per square meter. Let's keep going here. 30 most expensive cities to buy an apartment. Monaco, number 1. New York, number 2. London, number 3. Saint-Tropez, don't know where that is, number 4. Saint-Jean-Cap, don't know where that is. Hong Kong. Geneva. Sydney. Then Lake Como, don't know where that is. Pebble Beach, I think that's in California somewhere. I think I played golf there, actually. Porto Cuervo. Zurich. Singapore. Paris. Nice. Tokyo. Here comes Melbourne. Los Angeles. San Francisco. Miami. Toronto. Rome. Florence. Shanghai. Beijing. Palm Beach. Vancouver. The Hamptons. Wow, the Hamptons are cheaper than Vancouver. Milan and the Gold Coast. Wow. So every place is becoming affected by this per square meter. Wow. 30 most expensive places to buy an apartment. What's an apartment, you ask? It's air in the sky. You pay property tax for air in the sky. I thought the whole purpose of apartments and condos where you pay no property tax because you're not on any land. You're on air. You're floating in the sky. And the strata fees. Holy smokes. We're gonna have to dedicate a whole show to strata fees. And how people are getting ripped off left and right with strata fees. This is a really good one here. This is an older article, but I decided to pull it because this is before the first rate hike. And a lot of people are feeling the pinch of the latest increases. This is from a comment here on the comment section. I say they borrow, they gotta pay. Yeah. You can't walk away from this stuff, people. It's gonna haunt you for life. Now, here it is. There's the answer to your question there in our chat section. But let me break it up a bit. Let me breathe. I want to thank all our affiliates that are picking up this show using my clips on different different news shows, talk shows. I want to thank people for doing that and redistributing my content out there. It's free. I please do it. If you're scared to talk, then just let me do the talking. I'm really happy with all the people watching. I'm really happy with all the people, that contribute to the comments. We got open lines tonight, so if you're not scared to call in, it's area code 250-800-1489. And you can call in and tell us what's on your mind. And I'll turn down the ringer volume so it's not so loud. So if you guys want to call in, please don't be scared to call in. Open lines for the next 30 minutes. And so here we go. More than a quarter of Canadian mortgage holders are in over their heads even before the rate hike. So this is before the first rate hike. This is before the first rate hike. This article's older, but I want to address it now because we're in this position. A new poll finds 77% of Canadians would have difficulty absorbing the additional $130 per month if rates went up 1%. And this goes back to what I was saying from day one. People that own homes, a lot of people that work hard, working 2 jobs, they're buying food on credit. And I would have a lot of trouble sleeping at night if I had to put food on a credit card to pay back God knows when. It would trouble me very much. But take this piece of advice. It's not what you make, it's how much you spend. If you spend more than what you make, guess what? You're toast. It's very basic. I should hold a 6-month course on that, and all I do is repeat what I say. It's not how much you make, it's how much you spend that makes the difference in your life. More than a quarter of Canadians with mortgage say they are in over their head with current payments, a new survey reveals. Oh my God, somebody's calling into the show. Area code 586. Hello, you're on the show. Thanks for calling. Hello, you there? Hello? All right, try calling back. It works. Anyways, we got somebody call in, but yeah, speaker's working. Call back in. Don't panic. So people are in over their heads. The LPSO poll taken for bankruptcy service in the MNP lot found Canadians are worried about potential housing bubble and impending interest rates. So price hikes are going to go up. This is not good. Things are not coming together well for Canadians. Let's move on. So this was the article that was on the Mario Desetti's channel that he read. I want to steal it for this show because it's really good. 4 in 10 Canadians cannot cover basic expenses without going deeper into debt. This is huge, people. Back in July 13, the BOC hiked rates by 225 basis points to 0.75%. The first hike in 7 years. It's a stimulus. It's supposed to go for 6 months, maybe a year tops. What happens? Free money, let's party. Followed by another unexpected rate hike in September, we documented some troubling trends among Canadian households, including the record household debt to income ratio. Look at this, people. So, household to debt income, Americans are kind of putting this under control. Look at Canada. Woo! Just out of control. This is the sliding of hourly rates. Average hourly wages. I'm sorry, average hourly wages. Look at that. Look at Canada. Canada's in the red, of course. United States is blue. So they're kind of balanced. It's a balancing act, and it's not easy to do, you know, if you're running the country. Whoever called in, please try to call back. Please. I don't know what's wrong with my phone. If my phone's broken, let me know, please. Got dial tone. Look at this. What is this? Real estate prices versus USA versus Canada. Look at Canada. It's just right through the roof. You know why the United States housing price is very plateau? It's kind of low. It's kind of bumpy. It's because it's impossible to immigrate to the U.S. It's friggin' impossible. I tried to immigrate there. I did everything by the book. I got a lawyer. I got a company to sponsor me. I got everything, everything. And I went for my interview, and they declined me. They said, no, well, we can't. Fortunately, right now, you're not what we're looking for as a potential candidate to move to the United States. And that's okay. All right. Okay. That's fine. I'm not, well, you know, I'm not a potential candidate, then that's fine. If they feel that I'm not qualified or would be an asset to the country, then that's fine. It happens. You know what I'm saying? But you know, total Canadian loans secured against residential property. Look at this, people. Everything's secured. These are loans, eh? These are not mortgages. These are loans, like lines of credit and secured loans for student loans or something that people took out on their house. This is a really good one. This article is by Tyler Durden. And I don't know if you remember the movie Fight Club when he says, the things you own end up owning you. And it's very true. Oops. Let's zoom this in a bit. Let's go to London. Let's go to London. Wow. I don't know if you guys could see this in that image there, but there's a bunch of solar panels in some people's windows here. Wow, that's cool. Londoners have the most severe debt problems of anybody in the country, according to the leading debt advice charity. Step Change said those living in the capital were more likely to be behind on their monthly payments and typically had higher levels of borrowing than those across the rest of the United Kingdom. So I don't know if you guys have been watching me in the last couple of episodes where there's a mass migration of millennials leaving London and young people leaving London because they can't afford. They got these well-paying jobs, they got master's degrees, but they just can't afford to live. So they're moving outside the city, and there's a mass exodus in London, and everyone's moving out into the country. And you start seeing the patterns of housing prices in outside suburbs of London, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours out of London. You start seeing the housing prices just trickle up in those areas because, like where I live in Merritt, there's a lot of people here from Vancouver. There's a lot of people. And they're like half my street is from Vancouver because they left the city of Vancouver, figured they couldn't buy there. So might as well come out and move here, right? People living inside M25 were more likely to be behind on their rent, mortgage, or council tax payments and were deemed to be struck deeper in debt into a debt spiral. Those who turned to step change outside of London typically had a monthly shortfall of the amount of the short being able to afford essential bill debit repayment plan. Inside London, the difference. Those indebted in richer areas of London were more likely to use credit cards, thank you, bank loans and overdrafts, while the poorer areas people were more likely to be in arrears on household bills. So even the rich have to buy on credit cards. Okay, I like this one. This is a good one. Londoners won't be free of credit card and mortgage debt until they are 77 survey fines. That's huge. 77. I don't know if you guys remember that Facebook joke that was passed around. I'm gonna bring this up again. It was really good. So there's a guy taking a shot of whiskey, or I don't know what it is, and the guy was about 90 years old, and he had the shot up, and below it said, "I just paid off my student loans." It's classic. Woo! It's classic. Because a lot of people that got into that whole... I'm saying this because a lot of people are taking a long time to pay off their student loans, just like what's happening in the housing market and their debt. And you got the mortgage, but you don't have the house when it comes to student loans. That's the double whammy of it. You get the mortgage, or you don't get the house, and then the jobs don't want to pay you for being qualified to do the job. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, call in, people. 1-250-800-1489. I'm bored. If somebody wants to call in, please don't panic or be scared. It's online, people. And I want to thank all our listeners that are listening to this through podcast stream. Really appreciate this. Share this, get this out there, get people talking, get people motivated, get people involved. This affects everybody's future. This affects our kids, our grandkids. You know, if we don't fix this now, we're so doomed. You have no idea. I wish I had a time machine just to show you guys and go in the future and show you guys what will happen if this doesn't get fixed. A lot of comments in the comment section. Chat's buzzing right now. Okay, Londoners won't be free of credit card and mortgage debt until they are 77. I don't know a lot of people that live to be 77. Yeah. I mean, do I have family that... I don't even think my... Yeah. Yeah. Londoners may have to wait until they reach 77 to live debt-free, according to new research. The average Brit will not pay off unsecured debt like credit cards and certain loans until they are 64. A survey by the Center of Economics and Business Research for peer-to-peer lender Zopa found. That raises to 69 once mortgages are included. Londoners are saddled the longest as typically take on more unsecured debt and secured mortgages later despite their higher wages. So they're not getting paid enough to cover their nut, is in a nutshell what they're trying to say. So Mia said, sorry, my whole house is sleeping. It's midnight here. All right, call. If anyone's able to call in. That's okay. If you guys want to call in. I'm just here if you guys want to, just talk or lay something, just, what I'm saying. If you will go on the balcony, but it's not summertime, I would say go out on the balcony. If it's cold. If you can, guys, if you're in New Zealand watching this, I know it's summertime there, it's springtime. Pick up the phone and call me from New Zealand, please. Don't be scared. There's a lot of you people. My analytics said I've had this last month like 90,000 views from New Zealand in the last month and 160,000 views from Australia. So don't tell me that you're not watching the show. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and someone's saying we're basic. We're going to become like a third world country where the rich can just do what they want and the poor can never climb out to the top. It's true. It's so true. And who would have thought 20 years ago that housing would have triggered this whole thing, this whole mess? Who would have thought that housing would have changed the face of a country? Housing would have changed people having kids later or people getting married later because they want to buy their house. And who would have thought that just housing would have been the pinnacle of what kicks off the whole recession? Who would have thought that housing would have been what basically buried a lot of people that got in at the wrong time? Wow. Because there have been housing crashes before. There have been a lot of times where housing lost value and people lost and kind of bit the bullet. This is different, people. This is a powder keg with it's beyond. So let's continue. Those aged 16 to 24 are most optimistic. They expect to be rid of unsecured debt at just 38. That also makes them wildly wrong. If they buy a home with a mortgage, they'll be waiting until age 74. But who wants to work till they're 74? I know, me, I don't mind doing my job because I created my own job. I have a toy store, a game store. I don't mind doing that till I'm 74 because I'm watching Netflix, I'm reading comics, talking to people. People know me, they come in, we have a coffee. That's what I do, right? But working in a steel mill or working even on a movie set, carrying wires around and lighting and stuff, or even working as a construction worker, or even working in an office pushing pencils. Who wants to do that till 74? So here it is. Average household debt-free by region. So if you're in Northeast England, you will be debt-free by the time you are 57 years of age. 57 years of age. 58 in East Midlands, Yorks and Humber 58, Northwest 58. So basically it's Southeast, Southwest, and London. Southeast London, Southwest London, and London proper are the three places basically. And that's why there's a mass exodus in London. Everybody's leaving. Millennials, people with a brain that understand, hey, you know what? I'm not making headway here. I got a bachelor's degree and I can't put 2 and 2 together. Most of these people, 2 plus 2 equals 12. That's the problem. Let's move on. Another one. Australians' household debt nears the highest worldwide. English-speaking countries. Free markets. How free? Yes, someone's saying actually London has had the highest population growth in a long time recently. Yes, there's a lot of people that moved to London recently. A lot of people settled. A lot of foreign investors settled in London. A lot. But a lot of millennials have left. I've read 3 different articles from 3 different publications that are stating that that's what's happening. I've received messages from people that have left London to tell me that. Yes, they want to make it seem, you know. So if someone's from London watching this, I know you're watching this, please comment below and let me know if the millennials or the youth, because a lot of the people with master's degree can't afford to live in London. So they moved out, took their expertise somewhere else to pay down their debt and live a more inexpensive life. Australians' household debt nears the highest worldwide. Australia's personal debt is some of the highest in the world. But what does this really mean? Instead of, what does this really mean? I think it means you're screwed. But let's see what these two paragraphs have to say what this really means. Australian household debt has steadily risen over the past 3 decades as more of us aim to own homes and continue to rely on products such as car loans and credit cards. In fact, the ratio of household debt to income has more than doubled between 1995 and 2015, going from 104% to 212%, according to the OECD data released in 2015. This means that if the average person earns $80,000 net, they are spending $169,000 per year. I don't even know how you could even spend that much money a year. I really don't understand. So if you earn $80,000 a year, you're spending $169,000 per year. I can't do the math. Like, again, back to what I said at the beginning of the show. It's not how much you make, it's how much you spend. Guys, there's fighting in the comment section. Could people stop fighting in the comment section, please? If somebody wants to call in and tell me something, call in. Please call in. If you want to yell at somebody, yell at me. It's okay. But can somebody in the comment section, instead of fighting, could you tell me what they're trying to say here? This means if the average person earns $80,000 net, they are spending $169,000 per year. Yes, I speak English, but I don't understand English. Why is this happening? Someone's asking me if I'm investing in cryptocurrency. I will. I'll start doing it in the new year after Christmas. I'm kind of busy setting up the store for Christmas. And if somebody wants to teach me how to do that, I'd be very appreciative. Or maybe I'll invest a little bit of money just to see where it goes, to see how it's done. Then I could do a show about it. But while many other developed countries have seen a decline or leveling out of personal debt since 2008, global financial crisis, Australia's debt level, again, 2008 global financial crisis in the United States. Not in Australia, not in Canada, not in England. Everybody around the world watching. Oh, someone's calling. 643. Area code 643. Hello. Is anybody there? Hello? I'm not getting anyone on this damn thing.
Is this Mike?
Yeah, speaking. Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. It's a little bit cold outside, but I'm fine.
Oh, good.
So?
As I'm watching your video, the timing's quite different, so I must be a few minutes behind.
That's correct. It's because, I don't know, they just do that so you don't have to worry. Don't panic. It will catch up to us.
Oh, right.
So what's on your mind?
Okay. Oh, I just thought I'd call in since you weren't getting many calls.
Oh, you felt sorry for me.
An interest in the... Pardon?
You felt sorry for me.
No, not really. I've been following your videos for a while and I find them quite interesting, and I also find it interesting that you've taken an interest in what's happening in New Zealand, which is really cool.
Well, it's very important because it's usually the smaller dominoes that fall first, and it becomes a pattern. If it happens in New Zealand, it'll follow in Australia, then London, then Canada, then the US.
That's true. That's very true. So it's probably quite interesting for you to see what's happening here.
Oh, so congratulations on the new president.
Yes. I'm very excited. Jacinda Ardern is going to do wonderful things for New Zealand. Hopefully solve our housing crisis, which has been going on since about 2012.
Yes. And you guys had 0% or 1% interest rates for how long now? For like 8 years, 9 years?
Yeah, finance isn't something that I really understand much about. But the housing prices have been really out of control because of the shortage of housing, really.
So
much outside investment.
Do you see a lot of the people sleeping in cars? Do you see a lot of the people sleeping in parks? A lot of the youth? Do you see a lot of youth with nowhere to go kind of thing there in New Zealand? Because I heard that's a big problem.
I actually left Auckland before that situation developed because I could see it happening.
Oh.
Basically, I was about to leave my flat that I'd been in for 7 years. And, oh, wow, I can hear myself talking to you in the past. It's so weird. So I've had to turn your video off.
Yeah, you could turn it down. Yeah, just so you don't get a reverb there. So you don't get yeah, it's a little lag. But I think YouTube does that just because I don't know why. Right? They just do that for the sake of.
I'm a long way away from you.
Okay.
It'd be really cool to call Canada.
Yep. And okay, so tell us what's going on there. So, are you seeing a lot of empty homes? Are you seeing a lot of?
Really bad in Auckland.
It's really bad. Like, what do you see? What's the most troubling thing that bothers you when you go into Auckland? What troubles you the most?
Well, I haven't been there for a few years now, and I've only really been able to see what's happening on the media. But the housing situation got bad in 2012.
Wow.
Basically, I was about to leave my flat, and I hadn't left my flat yet, but so many people were desperate to rent my flat, like people I knew, oh, when are you moving out? Because this friend of mine's having a lot of trouble finding a flat, and I thought, wow, this is crazy. I'm not going to go looking for another flat in Auckland. So I left Auckland, I moved to Wellington, and the same thing happened in Wellington.
Wow.
It became really difficult for people to get accommodation there as well, and the rents went up. Not quite as bad there as it is in Auckland, but of course Wellington is prone to earthquakes. So I then moved to Queenstown. Well, the same situation happened in Queenstown. So I basically moved down the country, partly because of high rentals, but there were all sorts of other things for me. So it didn't really affect me personally to the degree that it would families, because I'm a single person, I don't have kids, so it's not really that hard for me to move.
Okay.
Yeah, but it is really hard for families in Auckland. Quite often there are several families living to a house just because the rentals are so high. And it was a shock to me because it wasn't really such a big deal to rent in Auckland, but now it is. And the rents have pretty much doubled since 2012.
Wow. And I hear about you're having huge problems with the meth houses, where houses have to be meth tested.
Yeah.
And that's...
Yeah, although that seemed to me to be an excuse to sell state housing, but yes, there is a problem with it in New Zealand that really needs to be curtailed. But that's a whole different area that you could go into, but there is a huge problem with it in New Zealand, yes.
Yeah, because if you have contaminated residents, it counts as a vacant or an empty unit. So that goes against a family that's looking to live somewhere, and that there's a lot of contaminated units by meth. It also crushes your chances of finding a place to live.
Well, it was mostly the state houses that were tested for meth. Unfortunately, a lot of those contaminated houses haven't been tested, so people are living in them.
Oh.
I don't know how big that problem is. I know that there is a problem with it in New Zealand, but I don't know how big it is and how many houses are contaminated, and whether it's people using or manufacturing.
Oh, wow. That's pretty bad. Now, what about a couple of states in New Zealand? I know they're putting up people in hotels, families in hotels that are
which is absolutely ridiculous, because it's costing a fortune to put these people up in hotels.
I heard about that.
It's false economy. It really is. Basically, well, the state houses sit empty, waiting to be sold.
And then what about, I don't know if you were watching me or watching my channel a ways back when I read the article. It was a very famous article. It was all over the place about 40 people to a house. I don't know if you remember, 40 people living in one house. It was like a kennel.
House in Queenstown. There's a house in Queenstown that's got about 30 people living in it, which gets quite a bit of press. But yeah, it's not unusual for a lot of people to be living in a house, and it's a real health concern, actually.
Wow.
It's a real health concern.
It is a huge health concern. Because you don't know who's coming or going, you don't know who's tricking or treating, you don't know anything, and it's just a rotation of people, and yeah, it's very, very unethical. I really hope New Zealand really gets a grip. I think with their new president, I think she's
definitely.
I think she's going to make a difference, because I definitely believe that she's for the people of New Zealand. I believe that. I saw her one or two of her speeches, and I understand where she's coming from. And how do you feel about this in the media, where they're not going to be selling to foreign investors anymore?
Well, that's just mostly so that New Zealanders are able to afford to rent and buy a house.
That's correct.
That's the reason she wants to do it.
Do you know? I agree. That's fantastic. But do you sense of like relief in people in New Zealand now that that's happening, or do you see people feeling more relieved that?
And I feel relieved.
Do you?
I mean, it's going to be hopefully a little bit easier to rent. Also, with the Labor government, they're going to improve the employment situation as well. Workers' rights should improve. I mean, the previous party got rid of breaks and all sorts of things, and there are the 90-day trials where people can fire you for no reason and things like that. So they are going to improve things for workers as well.
I really hope they improve the fishing industry, because New Zealand about 70, 80 years ago used to have an incredible fishing industry, and most of it just got, I don't know what happened to it, but I know they had an incredible fishing industry there, and it just got shut down for some reason. And
yeah.
I don't know if your grandparents were fishermen, but I know a lot of people along the coast made their living off fishing about 80, 60, 70 years ago. And it was a huge industry. If they bring the fishing industry back, I think that could help. I think if they start, New Zealand is so heavily, its economy is so heavily dependent on debt, on household debt to keep its economy going. You know what I'm saying? Do you guys have a student loan problem there?
Pardon?
Do you guys have a student loan problem there?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So a lot of people bought into the whole schooling, you're going to get a better job, you'll be more attractive, you'll be hired, and you'll make more, right?
Yeah, we've got a big problem with student loan debt, and of course a lot of New Zealanders do go overseas to get jobs, and quite a few of them haven't paid that debt back. They've sort of disappeared, and they can't really come back into the country without getting into big trouble, so they basically don't come back.
Exactly.
Happens quite a lot.
Exactly. Wow.
Yeah.
So I really hope this new president makes a difference for you guys. I really hope that she steps up her game and puts her foot down and makes the difference that the New Zealanders are hoping for. Anyways, I'm going to let you go.
I'm quite amazed.
I'm going to let you go. I want to thank you for calling in, and please call in anytime during our show, and anytime you want. I'll be live every Wednesday. I think it's Thursday where you are now, right?
Yes, it is.
It's Thursday, yeah, okay.
Thursday afternoon.
So every Thursday afternoon, I'll be live for you guys in New Zealand, so share this with your friends and let people know.
Shall do.
Thank you for calling in.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, so I got someone calling from New Zealand. Wow, I'm not alone tonight. I'm not alone. That's good. Somebody else was trying to call in from a local area code. Okay, how does Australia's household debt compare to other countries? Here it is. So she had a lot to talk about. Maybe we should have her on the show, you know, on our rants. Oh, someone's calling in. Hello, thanks for joining us. You're live.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, this is Richard. I'm calling from Nanaimo, BC.
Hey, what's up, Richard? How you doing, bud?
Oh, not bad, man. This is the first time I've phoned. I've never watched your live videos. I've watched your YouTube stuff. I've got a channel myself where I do a couple videos, but I find everything that you talk about very interesting, man. Like
It's well, thank you. I'm just talking about what's basically happening right in front of us. You know, I'm just talking about what's there, and
yeah,
a lot of people don't want to mention the elephant in the room most of the times, or a lot of people don't want to call a spade, or a lot of people are scared to discuss that we're selling our futures out.
no, and you're right. You know what? I have I'm 43.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 2 kids plus like a couple of kids with my girlfriend, she stepkids, and my oldest daughter just graduated. She's going to be 19. I got another one that's going to be 14. She's in grade 8, and what I'm seeing here is, to be honest with you, I'm not. I know. I believe it has a lot to do with space and the way that the housing, like towards this housing market thing, like what goes on is a lot of people have strayed from the way that we're actually supposed to live.
Exactly.
You know?
We are transcending away from. I don't know if you remember when your parents, if your parents did this, they paid their house off in 5-6 years, and they took vacations twice a year. How things were 30-40 years ago. Things were very different 30 years ago, you know. Now, people are slaves to mortgages. They're slaves to student loans. They're slaves to basically anything, to a car, to anything that requires financing.
Yeah, you're right, and like you were talking about with your last caller, there is our economies are so based on us consuming and using that debt that if we actually stop, if people stop and start thinking about what they're doing to the future of their kids and the future of their grandkids, we'll stop using that credit system, our whole economy would dry up. Now, it's not to say it would be like, I don't think it would be a really bad thing, as long as you're comfortable in your own life and you believe that like what needs to happen for a total revival of the whole system, then you really don't have anything to worry about, as long as you've got all your eggs in the right basket.
That's correct. You have procedure in place that could take care of anything that would come up, or anything, or thriving to where you want to be in life, but you don't want it to cost your skin. You know, you don't want to be a slave for life, right? And that's you know, there used to be something that people forget, and my dad used to tell me all the time. It's called layaway. You want to buy something, you put a little bit of money aside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you save up for it.
Yeah, you were around those times back in the early 80s when you wanted to buy something, you'd save up your allowance and then you buy it, right? And there's not much difference from that, but people have the I need and want now, just like you said and you told me. It's a consuming. We're consumers now, and we need and want now. Money's cheap. We'll pay it back later down the road.
Yeah, that's right. And it's like I was in this real estate racket, man. I own a contracting company over here on the island. And before I got into this, what I was doing is I was just buying and selling houses, man. Every time I seen the market, what was going to happen, and not this March past, but the one before, I sold my house and went out and rented because I figured it wasn't going to go up. Unfortunately, it went up for another year, but that's another story. But what I learned from all that is that honestly, I was part of the problem, because I was thinking of my houses as commodities every time I bought one. And what people should be thinking of is, this is my home. Like, this is where I'm going to live. This is where I'm going to raise my family.
Yes.
And you pass it down for generations. You know what I mean? So that the debt slavery goes away.
But you're not part of the problem, because you are living in Canada and you're spending in Canada. That's different. You're not really you're just like what Donald Trump would do. You're a speculator. You're a real estate speculator, right? You're not part of the problem, because the proceeds that you made from selling the house went back into Canadian institutions and stores and car dealerships. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. And it's staying it's staying inside of Canada. I'm spending in Canada, and whenever you can, you buy local business stuff. Like I still have lots of local business because I'm a small business owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's that's like what Donald Trump's idea. I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about, but Donald Trump's ideas of going away from globalism and actually producing stuff in his own country. What we should be doing here in Canada.
Exactamente. You know why? We have the resources, we have the manpower, we have the land, we have everything going for us except the fabrication, the exporting, and the stuff that makes us the money.
That's right. And this is the kind of thing that they need to teach in schools. If they start teaching this kind of stuff in schools, then our economies would thrive. Not only ours, but other countries see the same thing happening, like, whoa, maybe we should do the same thing. And then this trade thing wouldn't be a problem because countries would be producing their own stuff, and if we wanted to buy off them, we just buy free trade. It's supposed to be free trade, right?
Right. But what they took was, what happened with the housing market with the free trade was we have this free market where people took advantage of us. Instead of investing in our companies through the free market or in our stock markets, they started investing in our houses.
Yes.
And that's the mistake that we let investors do, was buy up properties. I don't know if you heard about this, but you know that part of Grouse Mountain was sold to investors?
No.
And part of Whistler was sold to investors?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did hear. I heard that the investors, another country. Yeah.
So that's what's happening, and we're selling out to the highest bidder. And when will it stop? I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
that's where we need to start thinking about who we vote for. Personally, I'm a libertarian, but there's only 2 ridings on the island. Nobody really hears about libertarianism except when they, hear something about Ron Paul or something like that, thinking we're all conspiracy theorists. But
no.
Yeah.
I have a couple of good friends that are Libertarian Party. They've ran for the Libertarian Party. I have 2 good friends actually. One in downtown Vancouver and one out in Burnaby. And they're both libertarians, and
they're just normal people like you and me and everybody else.
Exactly.
Have that would, to be honest, probably run our country a lot more humanitarian and more down to earth. Like what this is what every country should be run like, really.
They're more of a grassroots, kind of a grassroots. The taxes shouldn't be taxed as much. People that use things should be paying for those things. It's a good system on paper. It might work well. I think it will work better than what we have right now, to be really frank with you. I think anything different will be better than what we have now. So,
yeah,
to be extremely frank with you. But anyways, I want to thank you for calling in, dude. It's really appreciated. You can call in next Wednesday anytime if you want to just get anything off your chest on what's going on. And I appreciate that. And have yourself a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you, sir. All right, that was another caller that called in and into the show, out from Nanaimo on the island. And I'm not talking about, I'm just talking about what's there in front of us. I'm just trying to be as rational as possible. Just here, this is what's going on. This is what we're dealing with. How do we fix this problem? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got a lot of people watching now. Holy smokes. Everyone's fighting in the comment section. Why doesn't somebody call in? So somebody call in. I think that's my friend from Detroit there. If anybody wants to call in there, please contribute. Call in. I'll be on for a little while longer. Anyways, how does Australia's household debt compare to other countries? So that's what I was reading right there. Look at that. Mortgages, investment debt, personal loans. Why would you go in debt to invest when the interest rates aren't offsetting what you're getting back on investments? Oh, somebody else is calling. 586. I don't know where that is. Hello, you're live.
Hi, Mike. Calling from Michigan.
Oh, it's my Michigan guy. How you doing?
Doing great. Just want to know if you could address the comments by Poaz about his decision to not raise rates, and then talking about Trump with NAFTA. And then just any problems related to protectionism, which is kind of against, this new conservative way.
Yeah, well, definitely. See, Donald Trump is one of the very few presidents that's got into power that actually wants the best for his people. He is one of the very few presidents.
Wishful thinking.
What's that?
And I can debate this with you. If that's the case, then why did he endorse Hillary Clinton until like 2 years ago? Through everything she's done in her career, her politics.
Well, everybody endorsed Hillary Clinton. Everybody did, and that was
not Ron Paul.
Well, I love Ron Paul. To me, Ron Paul is one of the greatest. I think one of the best politicians to ever walk the American soil. One of the best. One of the fairest. One of the smartest. And he's a doctor. And I think Ron Paul by far should have. They just phased him out when he was running and he was doing good and everybody was watching him. Everyone phased him out. Everybody wanted kind of, I don't know how to say this, pretend he wasn't even there. And I still remember watching those speeches. Was that?
With the other Republicans in the primary, they phased them out too. They made it all about Trump. It didn't matter if there was like real conservatives that had a career in promoting conservative values and things in Ohio, for example.
Mm-hmm.
People that don't cuss in public and have kept the same wife for 40 years. Like, we didn't want that because the media told us that the apprentice showman would save the conservatives. But we've seen the Bushes come out. We've seen the Republican Party's kind of fragmenting. So I'm lacking to see this conviction. It's hard for me to see this conviction of Trump when there's no deliverance. We only see lip service to, okay, we're going to stop immigration, but he says some offensive things. So what are we accomplishing with him besides lip service? I'll give this back to you, sorry.
Well, which president accomplished anything in the last, I don't know, since Reagan? Yes, you had Reaganomics. Yes, the trickle-down effect did not work right, but things were better when Reagan was president. I lived in Canada, but it still was better when Reagan was president. But what since Reagan? Can you tell me? If you're obviously living in the United States.
I'm also agreeing with you there that we've had some completely immoral leadership from the Bushes and their lies in foreign policy, on to Clinton and his lies in foreign policy, and then the Obama, same deal. But I just don't think Trump was the solution to that because he endorsed this the whole time. And I guess you're giving him the benefit of the doubt, saying, well, everyone had to support Hillary. Not everyone had to. There were plenty of critics of her and the whole welfare state of her husband, so it's just, I guess,
so
we'll have to agree to disagree on the convictions of Trump. And his son-in-law was involved with the Clintons.
Mm-hmm.
Gives him like the senior foreign policy role, and it's such a conflict. And we as Republicans, why do we have to apologize for them when they were all Democrats since they were brought up? That's the contradiction I can't have. Oh, and the tax policy, like Steve Cohn, COHN, lifelong Democrat in charge of our taxes now.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans vote in Democrats to fix our tax policy?
You know what? I think once you get to the hierarchy of leadership, once you start getting up high, I think it just becomes a gong show. I think it's unpredictable what happens at those high levels. We're not in those levels. We don't know what's happening behind the closed doors. We don't know. And you know what? And I'll be really frank with you. We will never know. I guess we're not privileged to know. I guess we're not in the know. They don't want us to know.
Yeah.
And until we get a more transparent government, whether it's south of the border, north of the border, east of the border, it doesn't matter. Until there's some sort of transparency out there where we could actually say together and say, hey, you know what? Why is he doing this? Then he comes out and says this. But they're not going to tell us. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem. 85% of the discussions that actually are being discussed, we never know. Anywhere.
So I did take you on a tangent. So back to, I guess, Polas and then Trump and economic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Central Bank of Canada.
Well, Canada, with the NAFTA agreement, I think the United States is losing on that. And they definitely need to ratify the NAFTA. I think Canada needs to take care of itself and start producing with all the minerals and all the land it has and all the facilities it has. They start using that and export to you guys, and then you guys should be more into growing your gross domestic product by exporting. Did you know that 100 years ago, 1 out of 3 things in the world was made in America?
Do you think that Canada's productive capacity has been punished over the past few decades with loss of competitiveness, especially in Ontario?
Well, Ontario. See, this goes back to when I was a kid. Ontario lost a lot of its production capacity to Mexico when NAFTA was introduced. We lost our Ford plants, our major Ford plants. We kept one. We lost our GM plants. We kept one, small one. We lost a lot to Mexico with the free trade. We lost a lot. We were in trouble with that. And we lost a lot of jobs too. A lot of layoffs out in Windsor, Ontario. Then I know Detroit was hit. And then later on, everything was shipped to China. And then with the NAFTA, I think NAFTA isn't up to terms right now. With Donald Trump living in Canada, what I see, I think he could be the change. I think he's giving a lot of lip service like you're saying, which is right. But I think he's trying to, I don't know. I hope for the best. I really hope for the best. I really hope that everyone could really stand behind each other and really make a difference, because we're living in a point in time right now where things aren't changing. And it's the same broken record. Like you said earlier in the conversation, where nothing happened since Ronald Reagan. And it's true. It's the same song.
Even he doubled the debt. I mean, he doubled our national debt, you know.
Mm-hmm. You talking about Obama?
So, no, Ronald Reagan.
Yes, with Reaganomics. Yes, with the whole Reaganomics things. Yes, he doubled the national debt 1,000,000%. But in between, you don't have much picking and choosing to do. You know what I'm saying? It was, 2 dynasties running America, right? The Clinton and the Obama and the other dynasty, the Bush's dynasty. You had the same 3 dynasties running the country for the last 30 years. You know what I'm saying? And you've never really had that guy in power that's going to go in there and talk a lot and make difference or try to make difference.
Well, I, of course, not vote for Obama, but I'm saying he seems less dynastic than Trump, who you can see posing with Hillary in 1992 with family photos. Their daughters are still friends.
Mm-hmm.
If we think this is some sort of conservative revolution or some sort of values, then how can Elsie still be friends with Ivanka? And how can they, especially when they're attacking each other as sexual criminals, whether it's like Hillary saying Trump was a rapist and Trump, at least Republicans saying that Weinstein was like the White House rapist friend.
Mm-hmm.
So is this really a revolution if there's so many connections and contradictory?
Yeah, like I said, once you get up to the hierarchy of madness or whatever you want to call it, once you get to that level where we're not part of the conversation, where we're not part of the group, or we're not part of the conversation, we're left in the dark. We're just answering questions, creating conspiracies, spinning around, trying to figure out why is what, who's what, why is she with him, why is he with her, why are they talking, what's going on? And yes, that creates this kind of discussion. We don't know. And I don't think we'll ever know, because that's just the position we're in. You know, and I'm being very frank with you. I wish I knew the answers. I wish you knew the answers. But we just won't. We just don't know. You know, and that's the problem. Once you start dancing at the high levels, and once you start getting introduced to these higher levels of people and inner circles,
right?
Then you start to understand why things are happening the way they are, and then you could say, "Hey, wait a minute. I know, I understand, but I'm not telling no one else." And that's
the question is this with New Zealand. With New Zealand, could it be too little too late with implementing this plan to combat a housing bubble if prices in Auckland are already decreasing?
The problem with New Zealand is they got a new president that's going to go in and make a difference. She's, I think, 37 years old, and she basically, her political platform was vote for me and we'll stop this housing problem. Because New Zealand is very situated close to the Orient, it's very easy for investors to go to New Zealand and Australia and buy up their property. The average one-bedroom apartment in New Zealand is almost $1 million, right? And a lot of people, could this be fixed? Anything could be fixed that's broke. The problem is, could she do it? I really hope she can, because the Australian proper is in a lot of trouble right now. There's 40 people to a house. She was just telling me there was 30 people to a house. And Australia really needs to configure, restructure their country. Their policies need to change.
And New Zealand, yeah. But did they is the question. They seemed, back to Australia when they had Prime Minister Julia Gillard, basically said they have a two-speed Australian economy. There's the mining, which is growing gangbusters in 2008 because China just needs all this mining goods. And then we're closing down the rest of Australia. And the dollar hit parity with the U.S. dollar, which made Australia prohibitively expensive to do a lot of things, not really competing. But then what's happened is mining definitely corrected. And since that mining correction, housing has gone nuts, just like it did in Toronto. Is Australia due for a huge correction that...
Australia needs a correction.
The middle...
From New South Wales, you got Melbourne, Sydney, you got all those cities where they're, except Perth. Perth right now is in a huge decline. Perth has declined, I think, 15 to 25%, and it's still unobtainable for the Australian proper to buy. Still unobtainable for the Australian proper, even though housing in Perth went down 10, 20%. The mining industry is wobbly right now. It's on and off. China is buying most of its materials now from Canada. From what I've heard, their soft lumber and a lot of their nickel and their iron. They're purchasing from Canada. And China is opening up mines in Canada proper, inside Canada. And they have mines all over Africa. And a lot of investors have been moving to Africa now, as opposed to Australia, where the wages are more expensive. Now, a lot of investors have been investing in Australia with their free market, and the problem with the free market is it doesn't benefit the Australian proper that has to work 9 to 5. Australia is due for a huge revamp. Australia needs to be revamped. Australia needs to be fixed. There's no questions about it.
Okay, and any chance this is really painful, and this woman who just became New Zealand Prime Minister could be the fall girl, like the fall lady?
For New Zealand, you're asking?
Yeah. Like let's blame her because she decided to make her policy pro-New Zealand. So it plays into the theme of like blame Trump for being patriotic, like something like that.
Yeah, or let's raise interest rates when Trump goes into power 7 times.
Right, and then it just seems like we could easily pin this on this poor woman in New Zealand. Like your previous caller was all excited about these changes to make a difference. But
right.
I'm going to tread lightly and welcome these changes. I guess that's probably though. I guess maybe you probably have other callers.
Yeah, but I hope there's a change. But in all fairness, I really hope there's a change, because I don't want this domino effect to fall all over the free world, free market countries, and you'll see it hit everyone. And I think the United States will be last on the map to go if there's a very big collapse in New Zealand. I see Australia following very closely. Then I see London, and then I see Canada, and then I see the United States falling economically badly if those countries go first. But that's just my opinion. That's what I'm seeing.
And my other sign of contagion I saw was just like I lived in Chile for a few years, and just their mines were also not in good shape. Plenty of layoffs, plenty of problems with commodity dependency. And then we could take a trip down to Venezuela, and just the whole issue there. And the contagion, I think, is kind of, they're not talking about the effects in greater Latin America and Venezuela because of their diplomacy with the whole region in Central America, with the fact that like the Panama Canal and the city of Panama is kind of dependent on Venezuelan oil money and things.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. I'll do a rants and lifestyle show probably on Sunday. If you want to call in, we could talk about some of those topics. We could talk about what's happening in Venezuela. I was actually on the Venezuelan news 4 days ago talking about, in Spanish, of course, for Caracas News, talking about what's happening with the oil crisis and implementing the Chinese currency as the monetary currency for their petro and different things I was talking about there, and they were asking my point of view, what I thought about Nicolas Maduro and what's going on with what's happening and stuff. So I've been on the news down there quite a few times over Skype, and I'm very excited to do that. And, you know, if you want to call back through...
With Wall Street. Yep, we'll do.
Rants and Lifestyle, call for that, and then we could talk all those kind of topics that are happening all over the world that's affecting us, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, thank you so much for calling from Michigan. Have a good night.
Nothing.
Goodbye. Wow, lots of callers. Yeah, and I forgot to ask him about the housing crisis in Michigan. What's going on there? Damn, I should have asked him for that. Should have asked him his opinion on that. Damn. So next time you call, tell us about the housing crisis in Michigan. What's going on? I totally forgot to ask him that. We went a little bit off topic, but we went back on topic because everything, all the dots connect together. Whether it's Trump being in presidency, whether it's, you know, and like I said to him, why is this person hanging out with this? Why is this doing this with that? We don't know. We're never going to know. It's a level of acceptance of a club that we'll never be part of. You know, and we try our best to better our lives. We just want a better life. You know, we're not asking to change water into wine here. You know what I'm saying? We just want a better life. We want a job. We want to buy things we like, you know. Anyways, guys, I want to go to sleep. It's getting late. And I've been on the air for an hour and a half. I want to thank everyone from calling in, man. I got people from New Zealand call in. I got people from Detroit call in. Nanaimo. I want to thank all our callers that make this show happen. I'll be on again next Wednesday, so mark your calendars. Next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Tijuana, Los Angeles time, Tijuana time, Vancouver time. 9 p.m. Next Wednesday, I'll be live. Sunday, I think Sunday night I'm going to do a Rants and Lifestyle. We could go off topic. We could talk about what's happening in Venezuela. We could talk about what's happening in Iran or what's happening in electric cars, what's happening with solar power. We could talk about protests here, hurricane here, earthquake there. We could talk about whatever is affecting us as human beings on this planet. I'm tuning out, guys. I'm tired, man. Have a good night. Share this. Get this out there. Thanks for watching. God bless everybody. And if you're not religious, well, too bad. Just whatever you guys say. Thank you and goodbye.